Welcome to SuperTalk, the podcast that scratches your superhero itch. Just two suburban dads nerding out over superhero stuff on the small screen and the big. Buckle up, people. Enjoy the ride. All right, Professor, you ready to get this party started?
Let's do it. Back in the saddle.
Back in the saddle. What am I doing here? In 3.
Welcome to Super Talk, the weekly podcast dedicated to news and reviews of comic book media on the big and small screen. This is episode 122. I'm your host, Brian Professor Pettis, and with me, as always, my illustrious co-host, Titanium Tony Estrella.
Back in the saddle again. It's been a little bit. Weekly's a little aggressive, but yeah, with the slow news and the strike.
But then we could say if we went like bi-weekly podcast, we'd be like, and then we do one back to back, and then we're not.
Yeah, I hear you. No, we're sticking with it.
We can just say the podcast now. But, look. Let's be honest with our audience. It's a slow time, and it's a slow time for several reasons. One, because the schedule that has been out for a long time. We just didn't have stuff. But at the same time, the strikes are screwing stuff up.
Oh, no question.
Over the next several weeks, it's going to ramp up a little bit. We got Loki season 2 coming. We got Gen V coming. We have the Marvels movie coming. So we'll ramp things up. But we've got all kinds of delays. Everything's getting pushed back.
You didn't even mention Aquaman. That was funny.
Well, that's not till December. But we do have a trailer coming out this week, which we'll talk about. But yeah, we've got some stuff for the rest of the year. But it's not our normal. We don't have a lot of compelling content to review on a weekly basis. So look, we don't want to just come on the air and jibber jabber and have you listen to us talk about stuff that's not meaningful. We'll wait for something meaningful. And frankly, I think once Gen V comes out here in another couple weeks, we'll definitely be doing more frequent episodes to kind of cover that.
Happens to be the topic of the week this week, yeah. Professor. So that's awesome.
All right, well, let's get into it. Before we start, we'd like to thank the patrons. These are the listeners that bring the show to you. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you become a member. Support the show directly. We really appreciate it if you want to join. Patreon.com/SuperTalk is how you become a member and help the show out directly. All right, let's get...
Gracias.
Yes, get into our review section. We did have a small piece of content that was released to Disney Plus here recently, and I Am Groot Season 2. We covered this a couple weeks ago. Talked about how it was coming, and it was released on Disney Plus, a series of 5 short animated episodes featuring our little lovable baby Groot. And I don't know about you, Titanium. I watched it all in probably 25 minutes. It was very quick and simple and easy.
Back to back, I watched all of them at the same time.
Yeah, it was very, very easy. Look, if you like Groot and you like the Guardians, you'll probably be entertained by it. I don't think it's world-beating or world-breaking. There was no content in the show that was like life-changing or, how does this fit into the Phase 4 / multiverse saga of it all? But it was
strictly fanfare and a fun little watch, which is fine. It's not my cup of tea. I would prefer more meaningful, in-depth, moving the storyline forward type of stuff. But it was nice little filler. That's all.
It was entertaining. Yeah, there's an episode about him. An egg hatches and he adopts this little baby chick, and they, it's like his baby now. And then they had another episode where he got a nose all of a sudden, and all of a sudden he could smell things. I actually felt that episode was pretty funny because all of a sudden he doesn't have a nose normally, and he can't smell, and he got a nose and he could smell everything. And he walked in the toilet one time and he's like, "Oh no, we're not doing with that."
He walked in his room where he's been sitting playing video games for it looks like years, and he couldn't stand the stench of it, so he rips his nose off.
Yeah. Well, he goes over and grabs a duster, and they're like, "Oh, he's actually gonna clean it for the first time," and he uses the duster to pry the nose off of it. It was pretty funny. But yeah, it again, if you love Baby Groot, I haven't talked to my wife yet about it, but I'm sure if she watched it, she'd probably be tickled pink because she loves little baby Groot. So anyway, it's out there if you want to check it out. It's on Disney Plus. Go take a look at it. All right, let's jump into the news section. There's a bunch of things to kind of talk through, and I'd love to get your opinion on a lot of these things. We did get a announcement finally from DC. Everybody was wondering what the hell is going on with this movie. Is it still coming out? We were almost going to set a record for DC movies for the longest amount of time, or the shortest amount of time between the release of the movie and the first trailer of the movie. But Aquaman 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, made big announcements from DC on Sunday that they dropped a teaser, very short, 15-second teaser during the NFL kickoff football games on Sunday, and said in 4 days you're getting a brand new trailer for Aquaman.
Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get it on Thursday this week.
Thursday Night Football, right?
Yeah, I believe that's when it's going to air on Thursday Night Football.
Makes sense.
Look, they're using the right platform to announce these things and market these things, and even the teaser kind of gave us a little bit of an idea of the plot behind the movie. I don't know if you noticed this, Titanium. Who is the one person we did not see in the trailer?
Mara.
Amber Heard, yeah.
We haven't seen it. I know she's in the movie. They probably cut a lot of her scenes out. But
yeah, I think, who's the director, Wong? He came out and said... James Wong. Yeah, he came out and said that... James Woo. There you go. Wong's Doctor Strange.
Wong name.
Yeah.
That's a Wong name.
Yeah, James Woo. He came out and said that her role is pretty small in this film, and kind of confirmed that she's in the movie, but they did really pull back on the role, which is one of the reasons for this long delay. This movie, people forget, was supposed to come out December 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's a 2-year delay for this movie. And look, we kind of got an idea of the plot. Black Manta is back. He is the big bad of the movie, and he is...
Black Manta is one of my favorite villains in comic book lore.
Oh, and he's one of the best Aquaman villains, for sure.
For sure, he's the best Aquaman villain. But he's one of my favorite villains, per se, in comic books. And it appears he has some kind of, now, additional powers. He's got some kind of green glowing trident, and his eyes glow green. So he's been infused with some kind of power.
Well, I think he aligns with the Lost Kingdom. So we, the 7 kingdoms of Atlantis, we saw 6 of them in the first movie.
Yeah.
There was one that was missing, and it was the Lost Kingdom. And we believe again, this is the teaser, and hopefully we're going to get a lot more of this on Thursday, but a lot of people are surmising now that the plot is really going to center around Black Manta's thirst for revenge against Aquaman, and he finds the Lost Kingdom and aligns with them to take over Atlantis, regain your birthright, regain your ties to the throne, and this trident that he has in the trailer, we feel comes from there somehow, and he gets that. So again, we don't know much about it, but look, the special effects look great. As they were in the first movie. The first movie special effects were awesome.
Some of the CGI in the trailer looked a little wonky when, I don't know, we'll see. It's just a trailer, or it's just a teaser. Let's see what the movie actually look at. I'm not going to make any...
Well, we know Ocean Master's back.
He looked great.
We saw him in the trailer, and it looks like he's teaming up with Aquaman, his half-brother, so... Right. We know they team up and are fighting, Black Manta and his forces together. We see scenes...
Black Manta has a new outfit, a new suit, which is badass.
Yeah, looks really good.
Oh, man. I'm telling you, Black Manta is just cool as shit villain.
And who's the actor that plays Black Manta? You remember his name?
Yeah, I do.
Who?
Oh, you want me to say it?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
There's no way I'm trying
but he, rumored...
they casted him as Wonder Man as well.
Yeah, he's cast. He's going to be the new Wonder Man in the MCU, and I believe that Disney Plus, either special presentation or series, we don't know much about it yet, was filming when the strike hit, and they had to halt production on that. So that was actually in production when the strikes hit. So So anyway, look. And this is what we've said about these DC movies that were kind of already scheduled, already on the slate before James Gunn took over, that are they going to be standalone, piecemeal, motion pictures, or are they going to fit into the larger future of the DCEU that James Gunn is making? And this is kind of like, of the ones we've seen so far this year, Shazam! Fury of the Gods and the Flash movie, there was no doubt that those two movies have zero future, and those actors have zero future in James Gunn's DCEU. And as we assumed, before the movies came out, they made no statements, to the contrary, or they made no statements to confirm that, because they would just be shooting themselves in the foot in regards to the box office. But after those movies came out, they basically made it clear that this is kind of a stepping off point. Blue Beetle was the only movie from DC this year
confirmed to move forward.
That James Gunn has come out and said that character will have a future in the DCEU. Yeah. And it was very easy to do because that movie was filmed as a standalone movie with no real tie-ins to the previous iteration of the Justice League.
Yeah, and even the Aquaman movie has been touted as a standalone sequel to the first Aquaman movie.
Right, but the big question is, is there a future for this character in James Gunn's DCEU?
Oh my God, I've heard that somewhere before. I think we said the same exact thing before the Flash movie came out.
Right.
We assumed that Ezra Miller was not, and then there was no indication that he wasn't, and then is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Who knows? We can say the same thing. We can speculate all we want, but until...
Yeah, and Jason Momoa's been very coy about all this.
Of course.
We know this for a fact that he did meet with James Gunn, and they did have a productive meeting, and he was very excited about their meeting. And he made very vague statements of, I am Aquaman, there will be no other Aquaman. I have been told that my Aquaman is the Aquaman. And then he also made statements of saying the fact that, and I could play other characters. You just never know. And there's big rumors out there that he may be Lobo in James Gunn's DCEU, which, matter of fact, I think would be a better casting for him in that character than as
he
Aquaman.
Is that in real life. He is
doubt.
Lobo in real life.
No kidding.
The problem is Lobo is a B character, and some would say C character. And I don't think, if it wasn't Jason Momoa, that this character would not be able to hold a movie on its own.
I hope that's not how they use the character.
I hope you're correct, Professor.
Yeah, they had
you usually are, and I hope that you're correct.
Yeah, there was an animated movie that DC came out with a couple of years ago, Superman Man of Tomorrow, and this was after they kind of had sunset kind of the New 52 version of the animated movies that they were coming out with. They had Justice League Dark Apocalypse War was kind of like the end of that New 52 run of the DC animated movies. And they came out with a brand new movie, Superman Man of Tomorrow. And Lobo was the villain in that movie, fought against Superman in that movie. And I think that would be a very good use of the Lobo character as just kind of a one-off villain in a movie, that could kind of come back and recur in future, projects. But not the main focus of his own movie, and not trying to make him into an anti-hero and all kinds of other stuff, that they could do.
Learn your lesson.
Right. But, look, that's going to be the big question. Number one, will people go see this movie? I think Jason Momoa has enough fans out there that it will do well. I hope the movie itself, the plot, the storyline, the writing is good and justifies, look, this is going to be a holiday season release, so hopefully it does well in the theaters. But the big question is going to be after that, is this character going to be back? Again, we know that almost all of Zack Snyder's Justice League is not going to be back.
Correct.
The minor exceptions have been, so far, Jason Momoa, primarily probably because he has a movie coming out later this year and they didn't want to say anything. Yeah. And Gal Gadot, we're not really sure. Maybe not coming back. There's been conflicting stories back and forth of whether she's coming back or not.
They did come out and say that Wonder Woman 3 isn't happening.
Right. And that makes sense. It's not on the schedule. And that makes a lot of sense. And Sally Jenkins has confirmed that they kind of stopped writing the script and all those other things. So, look, we probably won't know until after this movie comes out what the future of this character is. And look, I thought Jason Momoa did a very good job with the Aquaman character.
Yeah.
I thought the casting was strange, but I enjoyed his portrayal of that character.
Yep.
But we know, you and I both know, that this character is very important to the future of the Justice League and the DCEU.
Yeah.
I mean, the core 6 Justice League characters are extremely important. We know they are addressing many of them. We know he's coming out with a Superman movie, and we're going to know who the new Superman is going to be already. That role's already been cast. We know he's coming out with a Batman movie. We don't know who's casting that role yet, but we know it's coming out, right?
Yeah.
And we know a Green Lantern movie is coming out, or a project is coming out, where I think we're going to see multiple versions of Jon Stewart as well as Hal Jordan are going to be in the Green Lantern movie. So we've got 3 of them right there. We know nothing about Wonder Woman, know nothing about Aquaman, know nothing about the future of the Flash.
Right.
Those are kind of all up in the air. So nothing on the schedule so far, no movies, no projects with them as characters being announced. So again, we'll see where this movie goes. And I'm looking forward to the trailer. I mean, I hope it's a good movie.
Me too. Yeah, we'll cover it the next episode.
Yeah, we will. All right, another big announcement just happened today, as a matter of fact. We covered this a couple weeks ago, that the visual effects workers at Marvel Studios were contemplating unionization. They saw what's going on with the actors and the writers, and there were many stories out there about poor working conditions, individuals being overworked, underpaid, people not having enough resources to do their jobs. And we know how important VFX is to the success of these movies now, and TV shows, not just movies, television shows as well. And we've seen how good VFX can make a movie better and how bad VFX can make it worse. And we saw that
Quantumania,
Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, and The Flash, probably 2 of the biggest examples of that, where bad virtual effects really kind of took away from the movie. And we talked about the Black Adam movie. As much as we didn't like the storyline and we didn't like the plot of that movie and how they treated that character, the visual effects in that movie were off the charts good.
Off the charts.
Yeah, they were really good. So anyway, the Marvel Studios VFX workers did vote unanimously to unionize today, and boy, this could be another cog in the production wheel that just gets
good for the workers.
Yeah.
I think that's good, but as far as pumping out product, I think it's going to really put a damper on things.
Well, hopefully, again, just because you unionize doesn't mean you're striking. I mean, let's make that clear, right?
Sure,
doesn't mean that, hey, we voted to unionize so that we can go on strike.
Right.
What it does mean is that you now have a unified voice at the negotiations table, and you can negotiate for labor agreements and work conditions and things for all of your employees collectively, and that's typically most unions form so you can have a collective bargaining agreement with the studios or with an organization. So hopefully that's what they're trying to do. And, they don't want to have to negotiate each individual's contract. Now you're going to be a unionized worker and you're going to be all working under the same contract conditions. So hopefully that's what it all means. And it could be a very good thing for both the studios and the visual effects workers themselves. So, I mean, we don't know anything about this. All we know is they
You're
unionize.
right. It is. That's a double-edged sword, obviously, but it could be a good thing for both sides. It could be, there could be a unified understanding of what the working conditions are, what the pay is, and
salary scales,
what you're required to do. And if somebody feels like they're being overworked, well, this is what the requirements are from your union. So you're not meeting these standards.
Or pre-negotiated overtime rates and things like that. And how much overtime could you work, even if you voluntarily chose to do so, right?
What's the normal time to create a cell in one visual effects clip? What's the average time of that? Is it, if it's taking me 3 hours, then I should be compensated, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if the average time is an hour and you're not doing it in an hour, well, then that's on you.
Right. And again, this could be a good thing for the studios as well.
Agreed.
So we're making point that they did unionize, so that we'll just go from there.
Good.
Big trailer, I guess, additional trailer for the Marvels movie came out last week, announcing their IMAX release. And this was something that they were not planning on doing, and frankly, because the IMAX studios or theaters themselves were going to be tied up with Dune. So if people don't recall, the Dune movie was coming out the week before the Marvels.
Yep.
And Dune delayed the release of that movie, and I believe it's until March of 2024.
2024, yep.
So they vacated that release date the week before the Marvels. So the Marvels now is the only movie coming out at that time. And so they have full access to the IMAX theaters. Now the IMAX theaters are working with Marvel Studios to make sure that they're promoting the release of the Marvels in those theaters in IMAX. Look, that's a big get, for that movie, to be able to use the IMAX theaters as another vehicle to display their movie. We did get
not just another vehicle to display their movie, but it also adds revenue because the IMAX that ticket, it costs a hell of a lot more, and that adds to the gross profit of the movie. It adds to the numbers, so it's a good thing for the Marvel movie.
Yeah, and we got a couple of other interesting tidbits about the movie. First and foremost is the runtime has been leaked. The official runtime being at an hour and 38 minutes, which makes it the third shortest MCU movie ever. I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. I think these... No. And I'm not just talking about this. I know you're laughing, but I'm not just talking about this movie in particular, but I think the need to have these 2.5, 3 hour movies. Now, look, your Infinity War and Endgames, you're kind of forced to be that 2 hour and 45 minute movie because you're covering so much and so many different actors and characters and storylines and everything else. But, some of these movies that have come out that have been close to 2 hours really seem to be too long. And there's a lot of filler and there's a lot of dead time in the movie, and we're just like, let's get on with it, move the plot along, right? And
couldn't be happier, but what you put, the scenes in the area that they cut the most from.
That's the rumor. The rumor is that they cut back many of the scenes in the what they call the musical planet. So we saw in the very early trailer we got for this movie some scenes with Brie Larson's character dancing around in the streets, wearing some kind of outfit and all kinds of other things, and we believe that this is a planet that they don't talk, they actually sing and they speak. It's like a musical, right? They sing in music, and we believe that many of those scenes were cut, and I think the studio made a point that this is not something our audiences are interested in.
Yeah, I think it'll help the movie making it shorter. So.
Oh boy, I know Titanium really can't wait to see this one.
I'm gonna see it. I really am. I'm very leery of it. Again, I think the villain is weak. Hopefully the story is a little more.
Oh, another thing about the villain, I can't remember the actress's name that plays the villain.
I believe that actress is married to
Tom Hiddleston. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's Tom Hiddleston's wife. Yeah, in real life. So interesting. I agree with you, Titanium. I'm more interested, and I think one of the reasons... So, a curious thing is, we know the strikes are going on. We know many studios have delayed projects that were coming out this fall and winter. Kraven the Hunter was delayed. Dune was delayed. We know that the delays were there. And many of those studios have chosen to delay those projects and releases of those movies because the actors cannot promote these movies if they're on strike, right? We know that.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be bothering Marvel. We know this movie's coming out.
Yeah.
They may or may not have a red carpet. If they do have a red carpet, the actors won't be there.
Right.
We know that if they're still on strike. It doesn't seem to be bothering them. And I think that's for two reasons. Could they delay this movie? Of course they could. Will they? At this point in time, it doesn't seem like they're going to. I think that's for two major reasons. One, we already know there's a massive gap between the release of this movie and the next MCU movie on the schedule, and that's Deadpool 3, which is not coming out until May. At least right now. Not supposed to come out until May. We believe that that's going to be pushed back again once the strike is over. We haven't heard anything official yet. But that's a 6-month gap already.
Sure.
Right? And so we know that that's there, and they're concerned if our audience forgets about us, they won't come back. And so I think that's part of the concern. I think the other reason why this movie's coming out is I do believe it plays an important role in moving the plot line of Phase 4, this multiverse saga, forward. And I do believe there are things in this movie.
Oh, they've said that. So yeah,
like absolutely. That scene in the beginning of the movie where we see Monica Rambeau walking up to this, what looks like kind of a digital pane of glass in space, and she walks up to it and touches it, and then that's how we see, Ms. Marvel kind of transports into her spacesuit and all this other thing. But what is that pane? What is that digital pane of glass? And we believe, we've been told that this could be the beginning of an incursion, and we know that these incursions are going to be happening, which is kind of bringing even closer this concept of the Kang Dynasty and the multiverse saga and Secret Wars ultimately. But I do think that things are going to happen.
Could be a jump point too in space. It could be a malfunctioning jump point. Could have something to do with the Kangs.
Could have a million.
But you're right. It could be.
And we also do believe that Loki season 2 is also going to be promoting this kind of concept of the multiverse saga and these incursions and everything else. So I think it's really important for them to kind of get this movie out, just to kind of push the plot forward of where they're going with this saga. And again, if Deadpool does get delayed until June or July, and then we get Captain America 4 delayed until the fall, I mean, it's going to push things back even further. So I think this movie will...
Probably the only thing I'm excited about is kind of figuring out, or for them to tell us what direction this is going in. And I think this movie is going to be a big part.
I hope so, too. That's what I'm looking forward to the most. I agree. I think, to your point, I think the villain doesn't really make me concerned about where that villain's coming from or going or whatever. But I do think that there's some important plot points that we'll be seeing in future movies. Boy, this again, we continue to talk about this news item more than we'd like to. Another Fantastic Four casting rumor, and again, as we'll continue to stipulate. These are all rumors. There's no official announcements, nothing, from Marvel. And until there is, we'll continue to talk about these rumors because that's all they are. The latest one is that Jake Gyllenhaal has been offered the role of Mr. Fantastic in the new MCU.
Please be true.
Really?
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't mind that at all.
So you have no problem with him already having had been in an MCU movie as a different character?
No problem at all.
Okay.
Yeah. No problem.
Yeah, the last,
especially they're from, and we already know that they're going to be from another multiverse.
Right, and that's the other thing about this movie is that at least the insiders are saying what they've learned about the plot and the storyline is that the Fantastic Four it'll be a 1960s period piece, so they'll be from the 60s. So we believe the movie's going to be cast or take place in kind of the 60s era. But we've also been told that they're from another universe.
Right.
And the only way the Fantastic Four makes their way into the MCU is through this multiverse incursion, multiverse saga, which we believe will ultimately culminate in Secret Wars, where all these multiverses kind of combine into a single universe, and that's how we get the one primary MCU going forward. And if the Fantastic Four are from some other universe, they make their way into Secret Wars, and then those universes combine or collapse eventually. They'll be in our MCU. That makes a lot of sense, and I would be very cool with that, fine with that, and everything else. But Jake Gyllenhaal, look, I love the guy, great actor. I think he would play the role very well. To your point, I think he is a good casting choice. The last rumor that we heard was Matt Smith from House of Dragon. I
don't mind that either.
No,
I don't mind it. What's his name? Driver. What's his first name?
Adam Driver.
Adam Driver. I wasn't crazy about.
Me either.
Just doesn't see. I don't see him playing that.
And again, we've been told he turned the role down because he couldn't connect with the character. And you know what? I don't want him playing the character. We can't.
I don't either. I like the other two possibilities. Even if there's others, that's fine. But I like these two possibilities. I also like the Doctor Doom rumored casting.
Well, that's the next item on the list. Big rumor that Doctor Doom has been cast in the MCU. Josh Hartnett, Josh Heartthrob. Josh Hartnett's been rumored that he has been offered the role of Doctor Doom for a cameo in the Fantastic Four movie, and then ultimately will come back as the role of Doctor Doom in likely Secret Wars in future projects. Look, I mean, I mentioned this. I don't think you've seen Oppenheimer yet. He's in that movie, and he does a great job in that movie. And when he was in the movie, I'm like, is that Josh Hartnett? I'm like, where the hell's he been for 20 years?
Right.
He was in 2 massive blockbuster movies 20 years ago. He was in Pearl Harbor, and then followed it up with Black Hawk Down. 2 phenomenal movies, Oscar nominated, great pictures. And then he disappeared off the face of the planet. Was gone.
Yeah.
And then he was in Oppenheimer, and played a great role in that movie and did a great job in that role. And now this rumor that he's been offered the role of Doctor Doom. Number one, I love it.
Yeah.
I think he would be he's young enough to play the character, but old enough to make it believable, right? He's in his 40s, he's but he can play it for a long time, and he's a really good actor. I would love this.
Me too. I hope these rumors are true.
Again, and we'll find out hopefully someday when Marvel decides to make some announcements about what's going on with these casts. Another Deadpool 3 cameo rumor, and I number one, I hope this one's true. Big time rumor that, and again, we've talked about all the cameo rumors that are out there for Deadpool 3, and I believe,
and we know Deadpool 3 is going to be loaded with cameos,
and I believe a large majority of them are going to end up being true,
of course.
And whether they're just short cameos as kind of an homage to the previous, generation of Marvel movies, which a lot of these are, whether they're the Fox movies, the original X-Men movies, the second generation of X-Men movies, the Daredevil and Electra and all these other rumors out there are great. So this next one is Nick Cage coming back as his version of Ghost Rider in Deadpool 3.
Johnny Blaze.
Oh my God.
That would be great.
So we've been dying for news around the future of the Ghost Rider character in the MCU, and are we going to get a recasting of Ghost Rider? Is Ghost Rider going to be in the MCU? Are they going to do anything with this character?
Is Keanu Reeves going to be Ghost Rider?
Yeah, Norman Reedus. Is he going to be a great? Those are some people. Oh, they would be great Ghost Rider. But for Nick Cage to come back as Johnny Blaze, Ghost Rider, in Deadpool 3, even as a short cameo, or even who knows what kind of role he would. Awesome, I love it. Now it's strange because that movie primarily is most of these cameos are based in and around the old Fox movie projects, and Ghost Rider was not a Fox project, right? So why would they bring this character in? That's kind of one of the questions, but
fanfare.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm telling you right now, Ryan Reynolds is at the top of his game with the Wrexham thing and his soccer team and how
By the way, premieres tonight. Welcome to Wrexham Season 2 premieres tonight.
It sure does.
Yeah.
How hot he is right now. If he called up anybody,
they would
will you do a cameo in Deadpool 3 for me?
Yeah.
This movie's going to be off the chart.
They would
because he's so popular. First of all, he's brilliant. Second of all, he's the best Deadpool. I mean, he's perfect. And third, he's such a great guy that if
he has a lot of friends in the industry.
Tons of friends in the industry.
Yeah.
He's such a great guy, and people really adore him. And I think they would. I think if he called up Anthony Hopkins to jump in there, he would do it. I think if he called up anybody, any actor, big actor named today, I think they would jump at the...
I think so, too. And I mean, again, I hope so many of these... I believe a lot of them will be true, and I hope so many of them are. What we did get from, I believe, the director... of the movie came out and said that the chemistry between Hugh Jackman and him has been awesome on set. And Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, and we've seen
like a 48 hours type.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of the stuff that they've done kind of offline. The kind of the little teases they do on YouTube and stuff like that, and they've been great. We know they're good friends in real life, but they've said the chemistry on set has been exactly what they hoped it would be. Yeah. And look. This movie is going to be... I mean, I don't know about you, Titanium. It is the movie I'm looking forward to most. Of all the movies that are on the scheduled slate, it's the movie I'm looking forward to the most. And I just think it's going to be a home run.
I hope so. So. We'll get more into it when it gets closer.
Oh, for sure.
Let's get this strike over with already.
No kidding. Another announcement that came out, not really an announcement, but I will say another insider release that She-Hulk has been greenlit for season 2.
Pass. Hard pass. Hard pass.
Well, and I think here's here's the only good news about this.
Well, the rumor about Miss Marvel having a season 2, but they're waiting to see how the Marvels does in the movie. Hard pass.
Right.
Again, just quick.
So let me ask you a question. If they did She-Hulk very differently this time, would you be interested? And what I mean by that is, what if the plot of... So we know the plot of She-Hulk Season 1 was introduce us to Jennifer Walters, how she got her powers. She's a lawyer by day, and then she's ended up being She-Hulk, and it's like more of a courtroom
breaking
drama.
the fourth wall.
Right.
Very quirky, very much like the comics, well, at least that comic book run, where she talks to the audience and breaks the pages of the comic book to get to the next scene. She busts through Disney Plus to go to the writers' tables. That kind of thing. It's got to be different.
What if we moved away from that fun, and we now focus She-Hulk Season 2 on ramping up towards World War Hulk, ramping up towards Young Avengers? What if that's where we were going? And the reason I say that is I do believe Kevin Feige is very, very interested in She-Hulk being part of the Avengers. I think he wants her to be part of the Avengers going forward.
Great. I'm all for it.
And I think if She-Hulk Season 2 was focused on that part of her journey of becoming the superhero that she's reluctant to be because she's a lawyer, I think that could be very cool. Mentoring Bruce's son would be very cool. You know, I think there are places they could go with a She-Hulk Season 2 that we would be happy with. And I think getting away from the courtroom drama and the sitcom version of She-Hulk, you're right. I don't have any interest in doing that again.
Right.
But I do think there are ways they could do a She-Hulk project that would make it interesting for us.
With other characters.
Exactly.
Moving towards the building of a team. All right.
What if they asked her to mentor the young Avengers?
You've piqued my interest.
Right.
You've got my interest.
And the reason why we're not invited into
I wasn't even on the fence, but now I'm on it.
Right.
I'm on it.
And the reason why we're not invited into these meetings in regards to the future of the MCU and storyboarding projects and things like that still escapes me why we're not invited.
Oh, I know why. They can't afford us.
That's the primary reason. But anyway, I just thought we know they believe they're going to start filming that as soon as the strike's over. So
interesting. Please go in a different direction. If anybody of importance is listening, please go in a different direction.
Yeah. So we know. If you didn't know, it came and went. D23 was this past week. This is their Disney's big fan expo. It's called D23. They do two of them. There's one in Los Angeles, one in Orlando. This is the Orlando one. There was zero, and I mean zero, panels on Marvel Studios at D23 this year. And when I saw the schedule get released, I wasn't surprised. Kevin Feige wasn't there. There were no major announcements, no trailers dropped. They did obviously drop one of the Marvel's trailers at D23.
Can you imagine booking your hotel, going and buying tickets to several events, plane rides, you book your whole trip, actually create a vacation around D23, and then it turn out to be like this?
It's all about, when's the Moana cartoon coming out? What's going on at the parks? And all the cruise line. Here's the new ship. Yeah, that's what they were doing.
Wow.
However, there was a Loki season 2 panel. So Loki season 2 did have a panel at D23, and they showed the first 10 minutes of episode 1 to that panel. And obviously this 10 minutes has the plot of this 10 minutes and what happened in this 10 minutes has been leaked online, and now we kind of understand what happens in the first 10 minutes of the first episode. And interesting things came out about this, and this now makes me even more interested in this show. We saw during the trailers how Loki was glitching, like he had these glitches, right? And so we find out that...
What do they call it?
Time glitching or time...
He's... sliding through time,
glitching in time. I thought it was
glitching in time.
Yeah. So what we find out is that when we see him at the end of season 1, he comes back to the TVA, and the big statue of Kang is in the main thing there, and Mobius, an Agent 13, I can't remember, Agent 23, B13,
I think,
don't recognize him, and they don't know who he is, and he's like, "How do people not know who I am?" And then we find out in this first 10 minutes that he glitches and goes to a different version of the TVA where they do recognize him. And so that version that he comes back to is either in the past or the future, or it's another time at the TVA where he hadn't yet shown up.
Wow.
And so he's now glitching through different periods in time. And that's one of the plots of the story, is that he goes back and forth between different parts of time, either in the TVA or on Earth, and these different things are happening. And sometimes they know who he is, sometimes they don't know who he is. And that makes me even more interested in the show now, that his bouncing back and forth between different periods of time within the TVA makes it really interesting to understand how things may have changed over time.
The only downside of that is that if they don't explain it very well and it's confusing, that could leave a bad taste in people's mouths.
Well, and I think that's one of the reasons why they brought on, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Kihu Kwan, who is playing kind of like I want to say like a micro kind of character. He works at the TVA and he's in charge of.
He's like the help desk. He fixes all the
technology,
all the technology. He's the tech guy. He's IT.
He's IT for the TVA.
Yeah.
But I believe his character's primarily there to explain what's going on, what's happening, how to fix it, and I believe that's one of the reasons why he's there.
I hope.
But yeah, I think we're going to get all of that. We're gonna understand why this is all happening. And I look, the first season easily it is the most popular series on Disney Plus ever released. We know that for a fact. One of my favorites, if not the favorite that I've had, and I have high hopes for this season too. And
I do too.
Tom Hiddleston's
my second favorite,
rock star, and we know they're going to play a role in Deadpool 3.
Yes. Oh yeah, that's right. They're going to be in Deadpool 3 again. Ryan Reynolds making a phone call. Hey, be in my movie. You got it.
Right. Owen Wilson, can you come over and be in this thing too? Yeah.
Can't wait. We'll get more into that when it's closer.
All right. Well, let's jump into our topic of the week this week, and it's brought to us by our friends over at Studio GG Studios.
Studio GG
Home of the Man Band and Corn on the Cob.
Home of the Man Band, Corn on the Cob.
Yeah. So last time I talked to you, you said Goat was in Utah?
Well, he spent some time in Jackson Hole, and then they went up into Yellowstone, spent some time in Yellowstone, and now they're making their way back across the country. I think last I saw he was in Omaha, and then I think they're making their way back down south.
Probably one of the best steaks I've ever had in my life was in Omaha, Nebraska.
Nice.
And the steak restaurant was literally right next door to the slaughterhouse.
Oh.
And I don't think the meat could have been any fresher, but it was amazing. Love Omaha. But thanks, Studio G. We appreciate all your help. All right, top of the week, we're going to talk about the new trailer that Amazon Prime dropped for Gen V last week. If you haven't seen it, go onto YouTube and check it out. Now, I'll tell you, there are two versions of the trailer. There's a green band trailer and a red band trailer, and we all know the difference between the two. If you watch the red band trailer...
You want to know a little hint, a little secret?
Yes.
You're about to say the red band trailer?
Go ahead.
Yeah. Little secret. Watch the trailer released in the UK.
Is it even...
It has more scenes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, look for the Gen V UK trailer. There you go. Even bigger secret.
Red band.
But the red band trailer is, if you've ever gone to the movie theaters, you see the trailer intro usually has a green band on it and says, rated PG or whatever. If it's red, so if you're seeing a rated R movie, they have the ability to show you the rated R version of the trailer in the movies, and you'll see a red band come up before the trailer starts. So when we talk about a red band trailer, this is the rated R version of the trailer, basically.
They use the word fuck, and you can say fuck.
They curse, they'll use all kinds of curse words, but look, we all have, most of us that are fans, that are looking forward to this show, are fans of The Boys. And The Boys is a phenomenal show, but it is probably one of the most graphic,
violence,
gore, profanity, everything you can imagine in The Boys.
Is this an oxymoron to say it's done in a tasteful way?
Yeah. Well, I think it's done in tongue-in-cheek. And I think some of the gore and violence is done in a tongue-in-cheek way. Now, they do seem to make light of violent occurrences, but I think that's just the subject matter that they're talking about. Yeah. But this Red Band trailer is about as gory as you get. There is blood and guts all over it.
Wow.
And, look, the main character's powers, she is a, I don't even know how to describe her powers. I think
blood
they call it like blood weaving. Like she has
manipulation of blood.
She has the ability to control the flow of blood, and primarily in her own body, she can have the blood come out of her hands, and she can use it to like knock things over and wrap up people and all kind. It's just the concept of that power to begin with is disgusting.
Yeah.
But what she can do with it is pretty amazing. But the fact it's blood is makes it disgusting.
I think she has the ability to control blood in other people as well.
Well, we'll find that out in the show, I think. And I think that's one of the big secrets that she learns about her powers. But there was a scene in the trailer where some guy who's hitting on her tries to give her a nickname. And do you remember the two nicknames he gave her? Bloody Mary. Bloody Marie and Coagula. And I mean, that alone, and she's like, "Oh, these are terrible." But we saw
like Coagula.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of cool.
We saw other powers of other students. So again, the concept of and this, by the way, comes out on Amazon Prime on September 29th. And I mentioned
2 weeks, right?
Yeah. I'm 2 weeks from today, I believe, right? 13th at 14 something. It's Friday. Comes out on a Friday.
Yep.
We learned that I mentioned this Titanium a couple weeks ago. Amazon is screening the first 2 episodes of Gen V in theaters. I believe a couple of days before they premiere on Amazon Prime. So I believe it comes out on a Friday, like that Wednesday. You can go into the movie theater, and there's select theaters around the country that'll be screening the first 2 episodes of Gen V on the big screen. You and I are planning on going. And so hopefully we'll be able to see them on the big screen before we watch them on Amazon Prime. And this is a way not only to see those television shows in the big screen, in the big format, but also gives you the ability to kind of experience the sound and everything else, and it just in a great theater environment. So we're looking forward to that. Hopefully we were able to get tickets and get there.
I'm going to go out on a limb here, Professor. Titanium usually doesn't do that, but I'm going to go out on a limb here. I think this looks better than The Boys. This has the potential of being one of the best, I would say, superhero, if you can call it that, or comic book renditions or comic book media shows. It looks amazing. Off the charts.
Here's what I liken it to. People thought, so if you're a big Game of Thrones fan out there, Game of Thrones had a very long run on HBO. Didn't really end the way everybody hoped it would, but it did very well for a long time. And
no question.
The talk of everybody every time it was out.
It was such on a high pedestal. Right. It was almost impossible to nail the
And when House of Dragon came out, people were like, oh, there's no way you're going to be able to equal what they did on Game of Thrones. There's no way you're going to be able to do the same thing. You're just piling on stuff that we already know.
Right.
Well, House of Dragon did very well.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be the House of Dragon to The Boys.
Great analogy.
I think this show is going to be as good, if not better, or on par with what we see on The Boys.
On par is that word is perfect for what I'm feeling about this. On par.
So what we know from the trailer, what we know about the plot, and we've kind of surmised this a little bit from when it was first announced, that there's a school. It's called Godolphin University. It is owned and run by Vought, and we know that there's an individual who is responsible for recruiting teenagers to come to this school that have Gen V, the V powers from Gen V, from the V, and
he's kind of like a Professor X.
Yeah, so this is. Every superhero in the Boys universe is a play on Marvel or DC superheroes, and sometimes combinations of the two of them, and sometimes offshoots of those. And so every one of these superpowers is something you're probably familiar with. Now, what they do with these powers, I find it's more of a real world, real life, what would really happen if these people had these powers in real life type of thing. And so we got some idea of the powers of some of these kids in the school. And again, it play on the X-Men. There's a school for gifted youngsters.
Right.
This is a school for gifted youngsters, but it's a school, but it's run by Vought, and they're there to recruit and find out who are the strongest of these youngsters so that they can bring them on, potentially
to make more money,
market them, and then basically come up with their own young team or be part of the Seven someday.
Yeah, someday be part of the Seven, but more than likely, just like we learned in The Boys, they put heroes, cities pay for heroes to be in their city and to help protect it. And that's what they're going for. They're looking for more market share. More market share.
Yeah, so, and again, very much a play on the X-Men. And so we did see in the trailer a lot of different powers of these kids. We saw, again, the blood weaving, telekinesis. We saw laser eyes. We saw an individual...
Human Torch.
Yeah, I'll get to that one. Shrinking. We saw a girl, one of the girls can shrink, kind of like Ant-Man. And she comes out of some guy's ear all bloody one time or something. It's kind of weird. That was a weird scene. But the Human Torch one's great. So there's a kid there, supposed to be one of the more popular kids, but he is basically like the Human Torch. He can basically light himself on fire, and he can fly and shoot fire.
I think they call him Golden Boy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Is it Golden Boy?
But the two girls in the trailer, it's hysterical. They're like, when he uses his powers, all of his clothes burnt up. And he uses, he flames on, and all of his clothes burn off. And they're like, yeah, it's kind of like a fiery sea cucumber. So he's basically nude. And it's like, think about that. I mean, and that happened. If anybody goes back and watches the old Fox Fantastic Four movie, when Johnny Storm first got his powers, his clothes did burn off.
Right.
But they didn't make fun of it. But they do make fun of it here in the show. I mean, the concept of it, let me create a fireproof outfit for this kid so his clothes don't burn off all the time, right? Funny thing. And that's what I like about it, is they take these superpowers and they're like, well, just because you have these powers doesn't mean you're any good at it. You're going to fall over yourself. You're going to shoot somebody accidentally in the head sometime.
That's why they're in this academy, to hone their powers, to discover their powers. But there's some darker element, isn't there? Yeah,
we find out that in the trailer that some of these kids kind of gravitate towards each other, and she makes the main character makes some friends, and they find out that there's some weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
And some of the students are involved in the weird stuff, and some of them don't know what's going on, but they know some of the kids are involved, and they're trying to find out what's happening, who's making them do these things. This person ended up dead. Why did they end up dead? So they know something weird's happening, and they're trying to get to the bottom of it, and that's kind of the concept of the show.
God, it looks off the charts good.
Yeah.
I just can't wait.
And we know, again, there is a new season of The Boys coming, and we believe that's coming shortly, early in 2024, probably in the March
I heard
timeframe.
spring, at the latest, early summer.
Yeah, I think it'll be spring-summer timeframe next year. They have been filming, or it's already filmed. A couple of things. We know this is going to lead into that, and obviously play a big role in the next Boys season.
Yeah, they said that this happens between season 3 and season 4.
Perfect. So it's going to lead right into season 4 of The Boys. And a couple of announcements about the next Boys season came out as they are promoting this show. They did talk about a couple of new characters that are coming to The Boys this season. First, Tech Knight, which I mentioned to you the other day. Tech Knight is their kind of version of Iron Man, but he's a combination of Iron Man and Batman. So just like Iron Man and Batman in the comic books, he has no Gen V-based powers, right? He has no superpowers himself. His technology, he's a rich person, he has high tech, and he uses that tech to fight crime. But he's a superhero, and the supes don't like him because he's not a soup. Yeah. But he's so we know he's coming to The Boys.
He's actually mentioned in a couple of episodes of The Boys. A couple of times he was referenced. I think, remember that scene where they were in this therapy group where normal people were hurt by the supers?
Right.
And
that was when A-Train brought that guy to the community center to talk to the group because he wanted him to atone for his
right.
Yeah.
But there was another scene where they were in like this therapy session. They were in this circle and they had this staff and they were passing it around. And one of the girls in a wheelchair was like, "I just wish Tech Knight,
Tech Knight. Yeah.
Tech Knight saved me. I just wish she was more gentler with my spine." And now she's in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So it was like a therapy group of people that were hurt. And one of the guys, I mean, his member was kind of squeezed off or something.
Well, again, the real world kind of scenarios of things that could happen, right?
Anyway, so we've heard of him before, and this will be interesting.
Yeah.
He's kind of a psycho, though, isn't he?
Yeah,
He's got,
and that's the thing.
Impulse issues with sexual impulse issues.
Yeah, so we'll find out a little bit more about his character. And another one I'm more excited to come to the boys is Web Weaver. An obvious play on Spider-Man, right? So it's a suit that's got kind of spider-based powers, and he is it's like if the Tobey Maguire version Venom the Tobey Maguire black costume version of Tobey Maguire was bad.
Yeah.
That's who Web Weaver is. Like he is a sick bad dude. And so I can't wait to see how they use his character and not
Any clips of what his costume is or anything?
Oh, yeah. It looks so much like Spider-Man's costume that it's almost a violation of copyright. But it looks so similar.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, it's very similar. And wasn't in the boys' comics much, but was referenced many times. And so I think they just chose to bring this character in just because of the popularity of the Spider-Man character, obviously. Yeah. But imagine somebody with Spider-Man's powers who was just like a sick, bad dude. Yeah. I mean that I can't wait to see what they do with that character. So, look, we're really looking forward to Gen V. We will definitely be covering it here on the show. We'll be reviewing every episode. We'll be talking about it. We'll be jumping into the details of every episode. So, look, we can't wait, and we'll get into it more once we get some more information about it. We'll tell you about it here on the show.
Thanks, Professor. Let's ring the bell. School's over.
All right, well, that's it for us this week. We'll be back maybe next week for more Super Talk. To get in touch with us on social media, hit us up via email, supertalkpodcast@outlook.com or at supertalkpod on Twitter. Until then, stay super, everyone.
And we're out.
Thanks, YouTube. Keep likes, subscribes. Appreciate it.
Everyone likes this game. Haters gonna hate. And I know you can't wait to see the Black Viper. Round and round she goes. Hardly no one knows. In her black pantyhose. Black Viper.